Ta-da. Y'all get a warning, I'm recording.
Yes. I'll
Okay.
behave myself starting now.
Yes. Yeah, people, ever since January, we've said we're gonna record the meetings and then we're gonna share it and then we forget. So I'm always gabbing away and then I forget to record. How are you, Cindy?
Good. I know I
Good.
haven't been in a million years, but I'm still around.
Well, that's why I'm glad we can see you on Zoom.
Yeah, I did have it on my laptop last week, but I haven't got it out yet. So we're on my phone. Hope it's probably smaller.
No, it looks good. Looks good.
Yeah.
So I'm
Well,
doing the
happy
meeting from
birthday.
home. Oh, thank you, Cindy. We're doing the meeting from home because I have to be north in Lake Stevens as soon as this meeting's done and the traffic's just been horrible, so decided to stay home and do it here.
Good
So,
job.
I'm just waiting for Tom to pop on. A couple more, because it is only 9:32, which means we're 3 minutes early for 5-minute late realtors. Isn't that true?
It is true.
It's called self-employed.
Jennifer, you hear that a lot, right?
Well, yes. No, it's realtor time is always like 5 or 10 minutes behind.
Isn't that funny? I don't know why we do that.
We don't do that with our
Yeah.
clients, though.
No.
No,
Mm-mm.
no. It's just, I think it's for our own stuff. Jennifer, yeah, I did not end up going to the class. I signed up for it and then I noticed it was in Seattle and I was thinking it was in Bellevue. So I didn't make
Oh,
it over there. So,
yeah, we have access to a much bigger conference room in Seattle. And so
okay,
I'm gonna be talking about that today during my
okay,
time. We're gonna we have another next month we're gonna do it again. And it's gonna be in
okay.
Renton. So which I
Okay.
know is not as convenient as Bellevue, but we
Yeah,
just
it's okay.
our conference room only holds 25 in Bellevue.
Got
And
it.
Renton and
Mhm.
Seattle hold a ton.
How many people have been coming?
In May, we had 80.
Oh, I
And in
lost you.
June, we had 100.
Hello?
100. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Ooh.
did I lose Jennifer or did everybody lose Jennifer?
Oh, I can
I
hear
saw
her.
her.
Oh,
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, in May, we had 80 in Renton. And then in June, we had 100 in Seattle. It was very, very popular. Both sessions sold out. I was a little sad because we didn't have as much East Side interest, but it wasn't just my clients. The whole East Side didn't have as much interest as Seattle, which makes sense because Seattle's so far ahead.
Yeah, it
So
is.
I think once Bellevue comes online, people are going to be more interested, but Bellevue has to come online first.
Correct. Yeah, I agree.
Are you talking
And-
about the ADU meetings?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have a perfect location for that, so I was interested, but I had somebody come out and take a look at my conversion garage and
Oh.
their pricing was not good. So,
Or converting a garage into an ADU.
mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
I already
We're
have
gonna go into
power
that
and
a little bit
sewer,
too.
yeah.
So, Tom, are you ready? Tom? He's looking very intense. All right, well, we're gonna get started. So, okay, thanks everybody for hopping on. I know we're busy, so we really always appreciate your time on the Zoom. And hopefully we provide you enough good content that it's worthwhile. If not, we are open to suggestion. So please let us know what you'd like to hear. So we're going to go over our sales. I did listings and co-op sales for the Bellevue office because our listings have sold so fast. I mean, they go on the market, they're gone. So this one is Rhonda Benedict's that finally did go pending, and that was a Puyallup condo. Otherwise, we've had a lot of co-op sales. I mean, Annie's got 2, we've got Jeffrey, Rhonda has another co-op pending, and Paul Stickney and Bow. So good job. April close report. Again, we're all down in sales. It isn't just our company, it's pretty much, nationwide. that we're all down. So this is just the board for April closings, 6 sides. This is actually May. I'm sorry, it says April, but it's May. And that Gina was our number 1. 3 sides closed. Devin and Rachel had 1, and Greg Barrett, Tom Perry, and his sidekick, Ade. Is he on board? I don't call him sidekick. Ade works hard. So our rankings for the year. We have Dominic, who just went to number 1. This is in commissions. And if you look at sides, so versus Gina's 11 sides, we do the rankings based on the commission amount. We've had 41 closed sides, paying out 710 in commission, 710,000. And then if we look at Grant County, pending listings, a few of these have been pending longer with these feasibilities on land. So they kind of show up every month, you'll notice. And then, so Raymond, good job. Amy and Alexa have been super busy. And then we've got Doug's commercial deal that is still in the pending status. Co-op sales for Grant County. If the MLS number is highlighted, that's a dual, that's a dual agency. Amy and Alexa, Doug, and that's the co-op sales. Grant County's, this is the May report, which says March. I'm sorry, it's really May. It's 2 sides for Amy. Tamara closed on 1, really good deal. And then Doug and Alexa. So our rankings, Doug is number 1. Raymond, you got number 2, and they are neck and neck in volume, but Doug's on number 1 with commission. Then we got Amy, Tatiana, number 4, and we've got Tamara, John McKean, and that's that for that. Okay, so Tom and I went to the, Tom, are you got your volume working yet or anything
Yeah,
working?
I'm on.
Okay, good. Okay, so Tom and I went to the legal symposium. There was attorneys there. There were a panel of broker owners and guest speakers. So it was very interesting. So we kind of have a little summary we want to go over with you, what we really were told there. And I think we heard the same thing kind of over and over, no matter what panel was going on. So a lot of it was about agency. And our new buyer broker agreements. So we're going to go into more and more of that, but I want to just say one thing first about the buyer agency agreements. We've been told by state auditors, Nikki's going to talk about it too, because in deal reviewing, we cannot pay you. Okay. The great debate is if a buyer agency agreement is not part of the transaction, that what do we do with that money when the money comes in? Who does it go back to? I mean, that's the conversations broker owners are having right now with what do we do with that fund? So, I mean, we're still in the new phase of this. So some of the broker owner meetings that I'm attending, people are giving them the chance to go try to collect it or and we're going to talk about how to make a 1-page 5. You can do simpler buyer agency agreements if you have to, but you just can't perform real estate services without it. Okay, period. If you get a check and we don't have a buyer agency agreement, they say that the money should go to the person that's at fault or harmed. Now, who would that be? Does the seller get the money back? Does the buyer get it? The buyer was supposed to have been represented. You didn't explain that process right. Does the buyer get that money? So that's how serious this is going to be. And we're going to go into some of the audits that we're talking about. But it always goes back to the gold standard, put everything in writing. And even if you're talking about a conversation, remember that our communication is also supposed to be kept in our files. So if you are verbally explaining something, always follow up with an email that says, well, as we discussed, that way it's a trackable information that you have 5, 6, 8 years from now, that when you get audited, no, let's say 3 years from now, you get audited and you're like, well, I know I talked about that. You have the proof, okay? So, Tom Tom, I'm gonna let you kind of jump in whenever you need to here.
Well,
So,
just on that topic, I think one thing that they said that I think is extremely important for everybody. The law says as soon as convenient, reasonably convenient, you're supposed to get that thing signed. The NAR lawsuit, which we aren't governed by, the NAR lawsuit said before you show houses. So the argument is, what does reasonably convenient mean? You might meet somebody this morning, show them a house, and then write it up. What they said is just make sure that if in the least case, worst case scenario, make sure that your buyer brokerage agreement is agreed upon and signed and uploaded into transaction desk before you start writing your purchase and sale agreement. Before you write the purchase and sale agreement, do not put them in at the same time. So make sure that's in there first and then write your purchase and sale agreement. Then even though it's going to be a half hour, 3 hours difference, at least it shows that you did try to do it as convenient as first convenience. It got inputted. I think that is really important for this. The other thing is when you're explaining, when you're having them sign it, this whole idea of this is about transparency. So make sure you read it, make sure you know what each paragraph is saying, and make sure you know what goes into the lines of the paragraph. I made some flashcards, and these flashcards, we've used them now 3 times, and it's absolutely awesome. I just pulled what they said, what the buyer says in the buyer agency agreement, and then I have what the listing agreement says, and then I have the 41C, the 2 main paragraphs in 41C, and what that means, and everybody understands it instantly. But it's full disclosure.
mhm.
That's all.
And so when Tom says upload it first, in transaction desk, just have a signing ahead of time. And those buyer agency agreements, the buyer servicing agreement, literally can be adjusted. So if you have somebody that's not comfortable with it, you can be non-exclusive. If you have something like you want a 1 day or just for that property, we're going to have a lot of deals in transaction desk. Okay. Remember, you can just start a transaction in transaction desk based on just a buyer without a property. And so I'll get to that video in a minute, or that slide. But we talked about also buyer, broker and agents. Always recommend your buyers do their due diligence. I think we're hearing over and over that, we try to be everything for them. I mean, we do. As an agent, we're getting paid. We really try to go out over and above the call of duty, which I think we all find we go into a gray area, maybe of being more than a consultant. We are an attorney. We're advising them tax-wise. We're advising them too much that is not our specialty. So the buyers themselves have to do their due diligence. These builder addendums are really one of the best examples we can use. The broker cannot interpret these contracts. I mean, if it's not a Northwest MLS state form, we cannot, we know how to fill out forms. We're not a legal advisor. So, attorneys charge $500 to $1,000 for, an estimate for a contract review. So if you are in areas, even HOA docs, we can't review those. We can't be telling them what they should know. And it's so much liability, guys. Put on your forms a 22RA. That is a attorney review. And even if they never go and did their attorney review, you advise them to get an attorney's review. And it also reminds them to go get more specialty advice, okay? And then it kind of goes into the Growth Management Act, okay? We're all going to want to pretend we're experts. I think this is exciting. I think there's a lot of things going on that we're going to be like maybe even doing ourselves and think we have the experience to advise our clients on. And there's so much to this. I mean, Jennifer's been doing her classes. We had ADUs, dados, middle housing, lot splitting, remodeling, and additions. Cindy just said she's trying to convert a garage right now. So she's going to have her own experience on that, but that doesn't make her an expert as a real estate agent. to decide and counsel these clients of ours, okay? So there's a lot of changes and each city is gonna have a time frame for getting to this. And Warren, you're what I consider our expert already. And I think you can admit that you still know, a little bit of what is really happening with this act, which is a great act. I've even had clients calling me that have a rental and saying, what can I put in my backyard? I don't know, but I have to have the people in place that can counsel them, okay? So we've used your attorney, Warren, a lot. We've been recommending him. He's amazing. We've got a few clients that have called and got advice from him, from escrow titles, city planners, appraisers to surveyors. I mean, there's a lot of people. We need to put that list together that consider themselves the experts on this, but we need to have a best friend in planning and zoning, in my opinion, in each one of these cities, okay? So Tom, any more on that?
Back to the builder addendums. One thing that they were bringing up that's really important is new construction. Always make sure that you get your inspection done, your whole house inspection done on new construction prior to your walkthrough. And they made a huge point that not everybody knows. The only warranty that a builder gives you is the warranty of habit that you can occupy. What's the word?
Habitability.
Yeah, you guys can all say it. That you can occupy the property has nothing to do with anything else. Has nothing to do with code restrictions, violations. It has nothing to do with anything like that. The only thing they have to do is say, yes, this is habitable. So that's why it's really important to get that inspection done. The growth management thing, when Crystal and I think someone else went, I'm not sure who it was, went through the ADU, DADU meeting and the middle housing meeting with the appraiser. And we came back all jacked up about, oh my gosh, this is just going to be a lot of information. It's getting there, you guys. By the end of next year, it's going to be all over the state. If we cannot figure out how to find out the true highest and best value for a property before you list and sell that property, then you are going to be putting the company and yourself in the middle of a huge lawsuit because you sold the property for too little money. This job is getting to be complicated. And I just hope everybody stays on top of all this. And I was just thinking, I'm always coming in like the Debbie Downer for you guys, but I just really want you guys stay ahead of all this stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things coming down. You're within a quarter mile of a transit center. You have the potential of putting 8 units on a property. That's certainly going to increase the value of a home. So you got to be really, really careful of all these things.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong when I said don't be the expert. You want to know this information, those classes that you can go to that First American's providing. You need the knowledge to know how to direct your client to the right person. That's what I'm trying to say. You still want to know it though, okay? Because there's a lot, like Tom said, highest and best use of these properties. We could be a huge lawsuit for us when we sell something as a single family and they found out it could have been converted to something, or builders see it as a value. Or that leads us to another point of E&O insurance. You guys as investors out there also, we want to make sure that when you're buying these properties, if you're doing anything for profit, you need to first off disclose, number one, your real estate broker, number in the state of Washington, number two, that it's could be an investment for profit. So they do have a very specific thing they had asked. Tom, do you see it in our notes here of when we were supposed to ask for? So while he's looking, I'll look. So I'll just keep talking this. Insurance. I mean, we've all got it. The company's protected against not fraud, of course. If anything's fraud, we have no insurance. So fraud or intentionally misleading a buyer or seller is not covered. Okay. E&O covers mistakes. So E&O insurance, errors and omissions, in case anybody doesn't know what that means, is, You are licensed as an individual, not an LLC. Any suit brought against the real estate activities will be to you, not the LLC. Okay, there's some riskier businesses like builders that have, and real estate agents, they'll have their own E&O. Like Warren does, you know, he's protected, double protected from different licenses he has. So, if you are getting LLC or getting into this business, of course, come and talk to us first. Because there's some, protections we need in your purchase and sale agreements too, okay? I think that's, I'll go, we'll be moving on from there. Anybody have questions on E&O insurance right now? The other thing I just want to say is bring it to our attention problems ahead of time. Don't wait for a lawsuit. Don't wait for, the bad letter to come from. As soon as you think there's a, gray area, red flag in that file, bring it to our attention. We can bring that whole case to our E&O insurance. They will advise us early on before a suit, okay? So keep that in mind. I don't think a lot of people know that. All right, clients ask you to fill in the purchase and sale agreement for a small fee. A broker must deliver real estate services to receive compensation. So broker services must be part of what brings the transaction together. Only an attorney can fill out the forms without delivering real estate services. So what does that mean, Tom? We
Okay,
have to provide a CMA. We have to do something.
so you get one of your past clients or just somebody calls you and say, hey, I already have a buyer for the property. Can you just write it up? The first thing that I would want to tell them is, I can't just write up a purchase and sale agreement. That's the job of an attorney. However, an attorney is not going to be walking you through the entire process. They're going to sit down and fill out the contract. So let's sit down. Do you know the buyer? Good relationship with the buyer? Yes, no. If it's yes, it makes it easy. We all sit down at a table. We talk about the financing. We talk about the property. We talk about the price, what they came up with. We get everybody to agree on it. So what I'm doing is I'm putting myself in the middle of this transaction and ultimately causing the transaction not to happen or to happen. So I'm part of the process to bring it together. If they don't know each other, that's great too. Just let them know. Here's what I can do. I can sit down with each of you individually. We can talk about the price. We already have a price. That's fine. I just want to make sure I do my job in presenting my services. Once you've done that, you satisfy what licensing law tells you to do. If all you do is write up the contract, if there's anything screwed up down the road, you do not have errors and omissions because you did not legally complete those forms because you did not deliver real estate services.
Okay.
That's
Any
it.
questions on that? Okay, so we're gonna go into the document and record keeping. Again, back to DNO audits. I mean, DOL audits are really all we ever do is try to follow how easy an audit can be for us when everything's done right, and how difficult it can make your lives and ours when there's a missing document, okay? So over and over and over, I mean, we thank Nikki. As much as you might not like her, getting notes saying your file needs something, she's covering your butt and covering the company's butt. And we love you, Nikki, after all. Okay. 48 hours to turn in all documents. Now, they are even asking for things that we haven't normally kept, like referrals. They want us to have a file on every referral, and we need the settlement statement, even on a referral. The other one, of course, is your, when I say all documents, they're saying unsigned and one-sided. We all think in our minds a lot that unless it's mutual, it's not a deal, okay? DOL looks at it and says, no, you have a client, buyer, and they might have wrote an offer and it was signed one way. That's still a deal. Okay, one-sided or unsigned have to be. If you had a buyer that wouldn't sign a buyer agency agreement, I'd have the file started as a transaction. I would have my notes documenting it and some conversation with that buyer that I've, advise this or do that or whatever you can keep track of. But you at least had a conversation with that person. So Buyer servicing agreements, number one, like we've been saying, if that is its own transaction, that's its own transaction. You can then put that status as an active buyer, canceled buyer, failed buyer, pending buyer. Okay, think of it just like a listing. Purchase and sale agreements written and not signed by buyers or accepted by sellers. That's a separate transaction, guys. Even if you're working with the same buyer, then just put that status as offer failed or canceled or whatever status that happens to be. Then move on to the next file, okay? Change those statuses are going to be super important. Then the DOL audit, they are going to ask for our canceled, withdrawn transactions, buyers and listings, okay? So that is the new thing, and they've been warning us for a few years this is coming. Like I said, referrals now will have its own transaction and your name will be attached to it. So, and it, I asked the auditor, I said, why do I need to keep track of the settlement statement? He's like, well, don't you want to know if you got paid the right amount? Anything with money needs a follow-up, okay? Multiple offers. All offers received must be uploaded and saved. So as a listing agent, you get 5, 6 offers. Put them in its own folder. You can go clean up your transaction by in documents, just creating a folder. Drop those rejected, canceled offers up into that folder. And so I think a lot of us, when we're doing multiple offers, I'm going through the offer with my client and I'll just have them write rejected, or I'll write rejected on the front page even. And we put it in a folder and I just put them all in one folder so they can be found later. Email and text communication, I can't express how important this is going to be. They're only asking right now for communication in an audit if there's a problem, okay? But if there's, I think at some point they're going to be part of the audit where it just says your communication folder. I still love Mighty Text, and it's, even if you pay for it, guys, it's so cheap, and it's a way to keep track of every one of my text messages. And I can print that out and it's just uploaded to the transaction. I can answer on my computer, so I'm not on my phone all the time. And I just love it. It's called Mighty Text, okay? I think it's pennies for keeping me not in trouble. All right, buyer servicing agreements are not needed when the visitors are at an open house. I really didn't think they would be, but that seemed to be a topic of conversation. Buyers are not comfortable signing your BSA, then limit the agreement until you sit down and do your buyer consult. You can limit the time for 1 day or a property, and we're using this example, meaning you meet somebody or they just want to see your listing or they want to see a property and you just go be a door opener at that moment. But you can make it non-exclusive. You just right at the door, guys, just tell them, I can't open this door until you do this. And then we can make it 1 day for this property, but I need to have something, okay? Then you start working your relationship with the client and you build that into an exclusive relationship and a time frame and an area, of course, but these can be adjusted. Unrepresented buyers, we're going to see that more and more where they come to a listing and they know it all. So we still must deliver them an agent pamphlet, use best practices, explain you represent the seller exclusively and the buyer is not represented, and of course recommend they seek representation or legal advice. So anything else, Tom, there?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So remember I had started this buyer agent agreements in Aura transaction. So when you started a template in transaction desk, you can just go grab that template and it's called buyer hiring you or something. I just made it very simple. It's going to load all the forms that are relevant to representing a buyer. And at least you'll get familiar with the forms, but that is where you start your buyer agency transaction. If you're doing it electronically, if not, start one and upload your documents. DOL just had real estate commission meeting.
Crystal,
Yeah.
Crystal, I'm sorry, I lied. I
Okay.
turned the next page. This
Okay, got it.
unrepresented buyer and dual agency. What they were saying is you want to make sure that you send an email to the prospect client buyer, to them, making sure that you explain what it is they're getting into. Make sure they understand that in an they're unrepresented. You are doing nothing for them. They are completely on their own. You are not obligated by state law to do anything for them. You do not represent them. You do represent the seller. You will be assisting the seller with negotiations and da 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 da. I will not be helping you with anything. I recommend that you seek the advice from another broker or contact an attorney to make sure that you know what direction to go. It might sound like a little bit of overkill, but again, this whole lawsuit thing is about transparency, and everything that has come up is about transparency. So in a dual agency situation, just make sure that you've explained to everybody up front, the seller especially up front, this is what might happen if I know I can no longer help you with negotiations. I can't help you with strategies. I can't help you with anything once I'm representing both sides. Just make sure you're having that communication. And again, it's not a conversation. It could be started with a conversation, but it's followed up with an email or a form of some sort. But you've got to make sure that you go through that. Thank you.
Thank you. So this summary came from the DOL Real Estate Commission meeting, and I thought this was the most interesting part. Investigation department for the first quarter of 2024, there are 141 complaints from the public within the real estate sector for the first quarter. Currently, there are 255 cases that are opened and that have been assigned and pending assignment to an investigator. Do you think they're lacking some people? The most common complaints are the following: advertising without the firm's name or the firm's DBA, and team advertising. There's a lot of confusion with the public on, is that team a broker? Is it a firm? Who's in charge of them? Misrepresentation, the failure to disclose material facts is always high on the list of complaints. Trust funds, these are complaints for accounting and trust funds, mainly in property management. Failure to exercise reasonable skill and care. This pertains to many issues. They were not specific on the actual complaints. And record keeping, failure to cooperate with the agency so that the investigator the investigation can be completed. Okay. So if you get called on a file and you are investigated, you better have your documents ready. Okay. I can't express how important this is, guys. All right. If we turn our audits around in less than a week because we are good, and I appreciate that we're doing everything right, but an audit that takes months is because we don't have the paperwork. Okay. That's where we don't want to be. So I know you're sick of hearing this. Honestly, I get it. I absolutely get it. Okay. So of course, I think Jennifer sees this more than we do, but the wire fraud, I hear way too many agents that get way too involved in their clients trying to wire money into escrow. Get out of the middle. Get out of the middle. We haven't made this form a requirement yet, but it might be. Fraud is becoming rampant. Our emails are being watched. You can't put financial information in an email, period. Okay. So make sure that they have a secured access to wiring that money to escrow. Jennifer, anything else on that right now?
Interestingly, in addition to doing it through our secure portal, fax machines, I don't even know if you guys have a fax machine anymore. We barely have any. Fax machines are secure. Email is not. So we can receive and send via fax, but we can also hand them to people in person, and they can hand them to us in person. That is also secure. So
yeah, thank you.
Wiring is fine. It's email that's the problem.
Yep. So get out of the middle. I hear too many people, agents literally say, let me call escrow and get the instructions for you, okay? Are you going to walk to their house and knock on their door and hand that to them? No, your email will be interrupted and intercepted. Okay, so don't do it. All right, June 19th is a legal holiday, so remember that. And I have a little quiz, you ready? Unmute yourselves, because I'm gonna need you to answer. All right, so looking at this calendar, it's an old calendar, but the red is a holiday, okay? So we all need to put on our thinking caps. So using the standard allowed per state, Washington state forms, we're gonna ask some questions. So if mutual acceptance is on the 14th, when does the 10-day inspection period end? You can unmute yourselves.
24.
24?
25th.
24.
27.
24.
Said 27.
I was gonna say 27 because you can't end on a on a
That's what I
weekend.
said. Yeah.
But
27.
Why can't you have that on weekend?
27, right?
Yeah, look at that, Warren.
The
Mhm.
answer is the 28th.
28.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, because
Not
there's 2
29.
holidays in there.
So the day after Thanksgiving is a holiday.
Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I can't.
27. Yeah, Krista, we talked about
Yeah,
this more, but
Yeah.
but it is the 27th.
Okay,
Because it
all
can't
right,
end on the
27.
weekend, right?
Right,
really
can't
good
end on the
test.
weekend. And
Yeah,
the 24th is the holiday.
yeah, holiday, you count the holidays on anything over 5 days. It just cannot end on a holiday or a weekend.
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
jump the you
Okay.
jump the 23rd, right? And
Yep.
then you keep counting, but when you keep counting, you end on the weekend, and that pushes you to Monday.
Bingo.
But the 24th is a holiday.
I don't
No,
think
it's
so.
not. No, it's
Not
not.
according to this. Red
I think
little
I think most
thing.
Well, it
companies
didn't-
Well,
take it as a holiday, but I don't think it's a federal
Well,
holiday.
wait a minute,
Thanks,
wait a
Dan.
minute, wait a minute. So what the paragraph says is it cannot end on a holiday or a weekend. On anything over 5 days, 6 days or more, every day counts. It doesn't matter if it's a holiday or not. Every day counts. You just cannot end. So if it's the
So then
14th,
it would be the 27th, Tom.
yeah, it's just the 27th.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
so
And
it's a
FYI,
closing date.
banks can't be closed more than 3 consecutive days in a row, so they cannot take off. So that's federal. They cannot take off the 24th. They have to open. That's why banks
The
are open on
banks
the
are
20th.
open. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that
then
will
this answer from,
Well, we're gonna have to change
Class.
that because I think they work way too many days. That's we have to change it.
good to know.
We're going to
So if
put
the
the banks
closing
up.
is on the 18th, when is the actual closing date?
I didn't even do that.
18th. You can close on a weekend, right?
Nope.
20.
You can't.
no, you
Escrow
can't.
wouldn't be open.
You can move
So-
on a weekend. You can't close on a weekend.
Oh, that's what it is.
For funding.
Yep.
Yeah.
The possession
So
can
no
be on a
ex-
weekend.
Correct. No extension would be needed for this case. All right, if closing date is on the 9th and possession is 3 days after closing, when is possession date? We just
There you
answered
go,
that one
Warren.
pretty much.
Well,
Yes, possession counts all days. Okay, so if a 35R is received from buyer on the 9th, when does the seller have to respond using the 3-day default?
15th.
15th.
Good job. Good job. It's fun. Okay. So, endgame coaching, we just attended this one And it was amazing class, okay? So as you get the notices from the office about this, the AI Accelerated Realtor, and that was just some of the products that they were promoting. And I'm gonna have an example next month, but I have a link there, and when you get the recording, you'll be able to hop on. It's a YouTube video. You can rewatch this class. But and you're probably wondering why. Why would you use it? Okay. So they were having all sorts of examples, but they had from creating an agenda for your buyers out of town when they visit, when you know their habits. You just can, what they're saying about AI is that 10% of our work, then 80% of the AI doing our work, and then another 10% reviewing the AI work. So of 100% project, AI is supposed to be able to help us about 80% of the time if we use it right, okay? There are some products in here that they showed us that made sense. There is help like the Chat GPT, helping with difficult conversations. There's converting video, audio content into summary for like slide decks, a lot of social media posts, turning a summary of a 4-page into an ebook, uses lead management and for a farm area, help write tricky clauses. Kind of don't use that one. Let us help you with that. But Chat GPT could help you with some clauses that we need for a unique situation. Create lead generation plans for agents based on personality. So this was really an interesting class. And if you have time, watch this 1-hour class. And just keep in mind, they've got more classes coming up. There's 2 more, Power Up Prospecting, and that's connecting and converting. And the other one is July 9th. And a lot of times they're on our sales meeting, but remember, you can sign up for them and get the recording later. So that is gaining insight on the market experts. Mhm. Yep.
One thing
Tom.
about Chat GPT, it's way behind. So if she mentioned writing in paragraphs and things, just make sure that you're checking with Crystal before you use anything from Chat GPT in a contract. Because a lot of times it's not state specific, it's not multiple specific, it's not current at all because it learns from past information and they're not up to the current information right now. However, when you get into this, you're going to be writing to Chat GPT what information that you already know. Like let's say that this is a pretty cool thing for it. You take a listing and you want to write the remarks for the listing. Just write down a whole bunch of stuff and say, I've got 750 characters, do it. And it'll do that. However, you can also do this, put in some examples of how you write things, and then you put in your whatever's brand new, and you say, write this in accordance with what you've seen me write before, and it'll rewrite whatever you have down there, all the little specific bullet points. It'll put it into a paragraph of 750 characters that fits right into the listing. It's really pretty cool. It does take a little bit of time to learn how to use it, but it is pretty cool. So to play around with it, because it's a blast to play with.
So the up and coming Chat GPT is owned by Microsoft, and the Gemini
is Google.
is coming. And Gemini is Google YouTube based. And if anybody has more data about anything, it's going to be Google. So sign up for Gemini. It's already more powerful than Chat GPT. And then that's why I said listing descriptions are the perfect way to use that. Something that I'm starting right now is called Hey Gen, and that's avatar videos. And literally, let me explain this. I'm going to show you an example next time and see it, but I'm going to tell you. You just talk into this camera and you do a 2-minute thing, and then you put content. It saves you. Then you put typed content in, and it turns your avatar into what you just said in typed content, and it looks so real. You talking your presentation, whatever that may be. a lot of social media, market updates. I mean, people are using this for all sorts of things. So I know it's scary, but it can't replace our job. It's just going to help assist us, right? All right, so that we don't need. So I think we've got a lot. Nikki, you had some stuff you wanted to say about the Form 41 or just?
I think you nailed it. We just can't pay you without the Form 41, so it's important. I hate holding on to your checks, I promise, because I have to look at them on my desk every day. So if we have all our documents in there, I will pay you immediately. So, and I'll put notes if I'm missing anything. So I try not to be a pest, but and if you have a unique situation that I don't know about that I can just see during reviewing your files, please just put a note in the transaction desk, because then I won't ask you, you know, for those forms that I think need to be there. So that's all.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. All right, Tom, you're up.
Okay,
Stop sharing.
yeah. Everybody see it?
Yes.
Okay. Before we get into this, I wanted to show you this. Crystal mentioned the get this out of here. Crystal mentioned, hold on a second. The fraud might become mandatory. These are the documents, and I'm not always right, you guys well aware of that. I'm not always right, but these are the documents that we go through with every one of our clients. We go through the law of agency, we go through the lead-based paint if it applies. We go through the Form 17, how to fill it out with sellers and what to expect with buyers. This is the sewer capacity charge, explaining that so we can have a discussion with our seller and with the buyer so they know what it is. The buyer advisory form, the vendor referral disclosure, fair housing, and fraud. We go through all this and then they sign down here that they've received all these documents. So that way I have proof that I've given everything to them, and it comes in a folder which goes to absolutely everybody, no matter how old, how tall, how dark, how light, how blonde, how everybody gets the exact same thing. And but anyhow, so you might think about this fraud thing is hugely important, absolutely gigantically important. So anyhow, so enough of that. Okay,
That's great, Tom. I love that.
market recap. Market recap for May. The number of active homes, this is the entire multiple. The number of active homes throughout the state of Washington, 24, 26 counties, seeing year-over-year increase. I don't think that should be a surprise to anybody, but just going up. There was 41% increase in the active properties, 41%. That means there's more properties out there. You might not see that in our little hub here called the East Side, but when you get away from this little hub called the East Side, it's getting to be more and more properties. Number of closed sale increased 6%, 41%, 6%, 41%, 6%. So, you would think that the market times are getting longer for those sold properties, but in reality, they're not. They're not really getting longer because it's the good properties prepared right and presented well are selling for the most money and they sell first. So you still have that same conversation with your seller, with your buyer. 26 counties saw an increase, 13 saw a decrease. Cowlitz, they were unchanged. So the sold median price increased 7% overall. Median price increase in 1726 county. Grant County was the sole county without a change relative to May of 2023. They've had a big burst, a big burst is the wrong word, increase in prices over the past couple of years. So with them being stagnant for right now really doesn't mean much because they've done really well over there. 3 counties of the highest sold price: King, Snow, and San Juan. San Juan's always there. They sell that one house that gives them a good value. But King and Snow are in there for the highest. King 890, we were just on the other day, King actually touched 900 recently. So that's still continuing to go up. Median sold price, everything overall, I don't know why this is in here twice, but Okanagan, Columbia, and Ferry. Who knows where Ferry County is? That isn't from the other side of the mountains. You would think it would be on the Sound, but it's not. Look that one up. Condominium active inventories increased by 70% year over year. That would be one to look into also. I didn't spend the time to do that, but that might be one to look into, especially if you're dealing with condominiums. The median sold price showed an increase of 11.5%. 942 were sold, and the median price system-wide 529%. Now remember, 60% of the condominiums are sold right here in King County. 60% are in King County. Takeaways, single family, 41% year-on-year increase. Closed sales saw an increase of 6% to May of last year. Median sold price increased 7% May of last year. Condominium inventory increased 70%, and the median sold price is up 11.5%. So this is the entire multiple. This is something when you're sitting down with your buyer or with your seller, you might want to give them this information, and all this information is available to you. So this might be something to have in your presentation. At our meeting this month, this was what went on in May. I want to keep you guys updated, my buyer, my seller. You can keep my buyer seller updated what's going on. Showing time increase, the scheduled increase is up 5%, and key box access was up 7%. So that's increasing. Remember, the solds were up 6%, key box 5%, or key box 7, appointments in. So that's kind of ending up in the same place.
That's because we have to open that box twice because it doesn't fall out of the bottom. Right?
Yeah, right. There you go. Looking back at May, this is the east side. Remember, this is Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, Issaquah, no townhouse, no condominium, resale only. New listings, 172 new listings came on the market in May. Available homes, this is after all the dust settles, 265 homes on the market, 42 average days on the market for the available homes. Available homes. Months of inventory, less than a month of inventory, or right at a month of inventory. Pending sales, 233 went under contract. Average days, 14 days on the market, 66% sold the first week. This is huge information, huge. When you're preparing your CMAs for your sellers, this is huge information. More important for your buyers. No, there are no deals. If you're looking at houses that are brand new on the market, 66% are selling that first week, and they're selling for 106% of list price. No, it's $1 million. You can't get it for $925. That's not happening. However, I'm only a real estate agent. I have no crystal ball. Let's look at the market and see what's going on with the market. You want to make that offer, I'm here to help you. Let's see if we can support what the number that you want to do. Units sold, 283 units closed in May, 70% sold, 78% sold the first week. 78% sold the first week. Median homes, 5 days on the market. Median home, it's 5 days on the market, $1.7 million sold price and 106% of list price. That's the median sold home. New construction, there's 31 homes. Get this one, this is awesome. 31 homes sold at $2.7 million. Crystal, this is where that number came from. You came in my office last week and you said 2.7, that sounds really high. And remember I said, you know, it's 1.7, but I haven't done new construction. So because Crystal came in, I thought, well, let's look at new construction, and there's your 2.7. Only 37 active homes. What? This is in the 4 cities that create the east side. There's 37 active new construction homes. Wow. That's pretty amazing. So these are graphs that show up with the month-end reports. I go into InfoSparks, or it is InfoSparks, go into InfoSparks, and I put in Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, Issaquah. These are the graphs. Everything's going up. Can I get a deal on this? Everything's going up. Mr. Buyer, everything's going up. And if you look at this, we've got, what is this, Bellevue at 18%, Kirkland 23%, Redmond 17%, and Issaquah 10%. Up. No, you're not getting it for 950. Everything's going up. Now, if it's been on the market for 100 days, maybe we can do something with that. Let's explore those properties. Looking at the next one, we're looking at May 2023 and May 2024. And if you look at all those numbers, no big story here, but if you look at all those numbers, everything is greater in 2024 than it was in 2023. The mortgage, this was done today. The one that I did for my blog, if you guys go to rex2020.com and you click on market information, you're going to see blogs about all the market information. All this information I give you here is on my website. But on there, this was a week ago is when I did this. It was 7.02, I think, and now we're way down to 6.99. Or we can put it this way. Last week it was in the 7s. Now we're down in the 6s, even though it's only 3 points difference. So this graph, again, this is Freddie Mac. The reason I like this graph is because it gives you this information in here. It tells you your 52-week average, 7.01, 4-week average, 7%, up and down 1 year, 1 week change, and shows you where you are in that average or that spectrum while it's going through. I think it's really pretty cool.
Hey,
then
Tom.
they also, yes, sir.
So just a quick note on the Freddie Mac one. They used to show how many discount points were included in those rates,
Right.
and then they stopped.
Yeah,
So
they don't do that anymore.
it used to be, yeah, so the average is usually like 70 basis points to maybe 1 point. So somewhere between 0.7 to 1% of the loan amount is involved on that rate, just so you know.
Right, and thanks for bringing that up. And what
Yeah.
I tell everybody, maybe twice, 3 times, 4 times a year, the reason I use this is because I use this all the time. I don't care what they do. I use the same one all the time. And I always tell every one of my clients, and hopefully you guys already know this, I don't care what this says. This might give me an idea what's going on in the marketplace, but until you actually talk to your loan advisor and you get them to look at your credit score and your assets, and when you're going to buy and what you're buying, I don't know what the number is going to be.
It's good for a trend, is what you're saying. Yeah.
This just gives us an idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyhow, so back to this. Fannie Mae says we're going to see 6.6 in 2024 with an average in 2025 of 6.1. The National Association of Realtors says that we're going to see rates are going to likely be 6 to 7% most of the year. That was a pretty safe one. Mortgage bankers say the forecast for the 30-year fix is going to be 6.4 by the end of 2024. So all of these were readjusted about 4 months ago. Everybody was looking pretty positive before we started really getting into this year. And everybody's been kind of trying to say 6.5% by the end of the year, but let's see what ends up happening there. I'm not a lender. I don't know what's going to go on. But Michael and Kenton, they're lenders. Now, here's some hints for you. This is really fun. Keep an eye on the Dow's prediction for the Fed. When the Dow's predicting that it's going to change, it's going to do this, that, and the other. When it doesn't, the Dow isn't very happy. The Fed's actions, whether they're going to raise, go down, listen to what their mumbles are, and look at all the reactions, because your mortgage rate is affected more by what's going on in our economy rather than what the Fed does and what the Dow does. If people are really, really happy with what's going on, things are going along just like we thought they were going to happen, your interest rates are going to be better for mortgages. If people are really, really pissed off about what's happening, unsure and very unsettled and think they're going to be losing their shirt, your mortgage rates are going to be higher. But make your own guess after you look at all this stuff. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, pipe out right now.
Good info. Good info.
Thank
Tom.
you very much.
You.
I'm done.
Thank you. So, Tom.
Sharon.
Jennifer.
Okay, everybody take out their pen and write down the date, July 23rd. We had a really good turnout for the 2 classes that we put on in regards to condominiumization. And so that has been taught by Terrence Taylor, who is Warren's attorney that everyone speaks so highly of. Tom went to one of those classes. We had 80 people in May and 100 people just last week. And so on July 23rd, we are going to have a clock hour class. And I don't have anything in writing on it because it was just approved by the DOL. And side note, I used Chat GPT to write part of the class, and it was so helpful. I had never had a use for it before, but I took my outline and I just went through, bullet by bullet and asked it to, because I just have to show the DOL that we have enough content. And so it was very wordy, and I ended up deleting a bunch of stuff, but it saved me so much time.
80% of your time.
It would save me a lot of time for sure. But anyways, and so this 3-hour class is going to be the 1 hour from the workshops that we just had with Terrence teaching for 1 hour on condominiumization. And then we're going to have 1 hour, or actually 90 minutes from a feasibility expert. So his name is Jeff McCann, and he talks about feasibility. And then we are also going to have a builder for part of it. So it's going to be from 10 to 1 in our Renton office, because that's one of the areas that has a bigger conference room and free parking. So I hope to see you guys there. It's going to be a great class.
That sounds like a great class to have, the consultant. This is that team I was telling you we need to put together, guys. You have to have the
Do-
resources you need.
Jennifer, do you have a
this is
link
Warren.
you
I
can
just have
share?
You
oh,
have
sorry.
no, I don't. You want to know why? Because we just got DOL
Okay.
approval on Friday. And so we're still behind the 8 ball a little bit. But July 23rd, that's the day.
Hey,
Warren,
this is Warren. Just related to that. Thank you, Jennifer, for that. I had an interesting experience just in the last month with with Terrence Wilson and his team. So we did the transition meeting. So just kind of an FYI on how this kind of plays out, and it's the process of me kind of exiting the situation and the buyers of these condos moving in and taking over the situation. So Terrence and his team conducts a transition meeting, and it only took an hour. A lot of prep from the lawyers, so it wasn't cheap. It wasn't. It's not free work. You're paying these guys to do all the prep, but they come in and they bring the 2 owners of the condos together and go through a very formal process. Even though there's literally 2 people involved, for the 2 homes that were part of the condo, they go through a meeting minutes and all the information they need on insurance and taxes and recording everything with the county, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, utilities and so on. So it's kind of an interesting thing just to kind of see these lawyers in motion and how it works. So the reason I bring it up is that if you end up either selling or buying one of these situations with one of your clients, they'll need to know that there is this kind of work ahead of them, that just you're not just going to close the deal, go through escrow, hand you the keys and move into your house and it's done. There is an ongoing responsibility that happens when you move into one of these condoized homes, and these 2 people that own these homes now are going to be kind of working together for perpetuity, because they co-run this HOA now for these 2 homes. So it's kind of interesting.
So Warren, I don't want to dig into your finances, but was that meeting included in, Terrence mentioned it was like a $10,000 fee to get into this. Was that included in that $10,000 fee to start it?
I'm going to show full transparency here.
That's very nice of you, Warren. While
You
you're
really
pulling up
want to know how much? Do you really want to know how much this costs?
yes.
Be careful what you ask for. Let's see. 4,000, 9,000, 2,000, 3,000, with one final bill coming. That's going to include that actual transition meeting. So
Okay.
these are fees that I had to pay because I'm the one that created the condo. I'm the owner and the original, what was it? I can't remember the term. The original creator of the condo, for lack of a better term. So it's my responsibility to get that thing off the ground as the owner and the seller of that property. So I am the one that had to pay all those fees up front for the legal work. But once that transition meeting's done, I now have exited the situation and they take over. So anything where they would need Wilson's help moving forward, they would have to pay for that. Now, the good news is they probably will need very little, if maybe zero, of Wilson's help moving forward, because it's very straightforward. They've kind of penciled out all the instructions that they're going to need, these two individuals, in order to run this HOA, and they'll just go do it. And they'd only need Wilson's help or another law firm's help if they run into trouble and they need some guidance. So once that transition is done, they're kind of done, and the legal fees are behind you, and you move forward. But I'm the one that paid all those bills up front. I have not yet seen the final bill. I'm waiting to see how much that's going to be. And then
So those numbers came fast. What did it add up to?
Oh, let's see, what is it? I have them grouped in something else. It's about
17 plus.
Yeah, it's I think it's probably going to come around 20,000 total.
Okay.
Does that include your survey fee?
No.
Oh,
Just
isn't
the
that
attorney.
more? Isn't that more than would be typical? Because he says usually 8 to 10.
Yeah. The survey was 2 rounds of 3,000 each, so 6,000 for the survey work, another 4,000 for the design work. So it's expensive. At the end of the day, that bucket that I have for all of the quote unquote condoization work, it's about $42,000.
Okay. And that's, would it have been different for 4 units?
Well, you can spread it over. I mean, it would have been probably a little more because there's going to be, just more because you've got 4 instead of 2. But now you get to spread that over 4 different homes, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why myself and the contractor that I work with on almost every project that I do, we're really starting to look for properties now that allow you to put 2 dadus in the backyard. Technically, what it typically is, it's the main house, the original home that you buy and you remodel. Then you attach the ADU with a
Right.
little Frankenstein attachment because that's what's allowed. And then you do a dadu, a separate unit in the backyard, right? But you
Right.
basically now have 3 units on the land instead of just 2. And now I
Right.
get to spread that $42,000, or let's just say it's $50,000 now across 3 sales. And all of the work, the excavation work, all the survey work, it's spread out over 3 sales, which is a lot
Right.
better than 2 sales.
All right. Thank
But
you.
Warren, you sold these as 2 parcel numbers, so one owner
Nope.
got the
So it's
dadu,
a
or
single.
got the
It's
ad.
well, let's see. We're now okay. Now you got to remind me. So it is. It's a single. The city of Seattle thinks of it as a single parcel.
Okay,
It's a single parcel that has been divided into 2 for the purposes of the condo.
But
the owner of the house,
they give
got
you
the
2
ADU.
new parcel numbers though. The
Yeah,
old
I think you're
parcel
right.
number doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, each one has its own parcel number from that
Mhm.
perspective. But it hasn't been replatted. Let's put it that way. That's the term we're most
Okay.
used to. The
Got it.
land was not replatted. So if someone wanted to come in and dissolve that condo association, and then say, hey, I'm just going to sell this as 2 separate homes without a condo, and current rules, they wouldn't be able to do it because there's not enough land.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
But
Yeah.
you
Enough
were
land to
able to
replat it
price, right,
that
and
way.
I think what I want people to understand is that you had 2 buyers, one that bought the house.
Yep.
Also was the owner of the ADU attached,
No,
right?
two
No.
separate
2
buyers.
separate buyers.
One
2
bought the
separate
house,
buyers.
one bought the home that I remodeled, the 1954 home that I remodeled, and one bought the dadu. I call it the dadu, but it was really a separate house. One bought the dadu, which was brand new, 1,000 square foot cottage home. So
And
2
who got
separate buyers,
the
2 different
ADU?
condo owners.
Which this is an interesting small world, guys. Is one of my loan officers in Gig Harbor, her client bought that one of the units. The
Huh.
unit.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yes, that's right. Yes. You're
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you, Michael. You're correct.
Yeah. So we were intimately involved on that, making sure, and we approved the condo project. So
Yeah.
so I guess my question on this, Warren, too, is do you think those fees would be lower now that you're more experienced walking through this on a project, or is that just going to be across the board? Do you think people need to be prepared?
There's,
to throw
you know,
in.
it's a good point. I'd like to think that I didn't make too many mistakes and cause the lawyers to work more than they needed to. But I'm sure at the end of the day, I asked some questions, got some phone time, did some things. So they bill for everything, right?
Sure.
And so there's probably an extra bit on the margin that I had to pay more than I would the next time because I wouldn't have those same questions. But at the end of the day, they had their assignments of things they had to go do, the paperwork they had to go do, and they just went and did it. And you're paying for that.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
now
I was very
the-
pleased when she brought it to me. She actually showed me the property, and then I saw your name come up. I was like, "Hey,
yeah,
you've been
yeah.
talking about this, you know?"
Yeah.
And
And
you know,
it
this
took her
process.
it took her and I a while to realize that we were in your office, that she was in your office before we put those two
Yeah.
things together.
Mm,
So the
small world.
one last caveat that again, one of the things that I keep thinking about for my next project and what I would have done potentially differently is the other option, if there's slightly more land, is to instead of going through that condo association process and the $42,000 with Wilson, et cetera, is should I have gone through and worked with the city to replat it for townhouses? That's the go, no go decision that like you're kind of that your sellers, that your clients are going to be thinking about, where like I've got 10,000 square feet to work with. What do I do? Do I build a dadu with a yard? Do I build 2 dadus and nobody's got a yard? Or do I build 3 townhouses and really nobody's got a yard? Right? But the townhouses, now you're replatting because that's not a condo. Now you're actually working with the city, separate parcels, townhouse parcels. At the end of the day, it's a cleaner sale because you buy the townhouse, you move on. There's no HOA. But the upfront work, working with the city to get that replatted for a townhouse is some heavy lifting.
And it's gonna take longer, right?
There is a zero lot line bill that was introduced to Congress. That one didn't get legs on it because they were concerned with the combination of the ADU bill that people could subdivide the property and then put on the 2 ADUs. So we would have massive density. And so they had to get some clarification on the language. So we're watching that bill for next year's session. But the zero lot line seems like that would be a good option compared to the condoization, especially for the home that's there, because that turned that home into a condo essentially. You know, but you stick a doghouse on a piece of property in Seattle area and it's going to sell right now. But you know, that was interesting to say, okay, is that the best use for that? You know, from comparable sales. What Terrence didn't realize either is that we finance detached condos differently than attached condos. So if you have a detached condo like the one that you had, our condo approval process is super streamlined, right? We don't have to jump through as many hoops. So the more detached units you do in a condo, the better for us from a financing standpoint. So
And I think it's easier to get them insured. I think that just your comment there, Michael, about the zero lot line scenario, I think part of that's just bad marketing and bad communications by the folks trying to push that, because people hear zero lot line and they're like, oh my God, zero lot line, that sounds terrible. But you sell them townhouse, or you know, they're like, oh yeah, townhouses, those are, you know, I see those all the time. Well, they're essentially one and the same.
Yeah.
And so they should have just called it a townhouse bill.
Correct.
And then people probably would have pushed it through. So
everything is definitely in the interpretation and perception, you know, when the language is drafted. But you have a bunch of aides that, you know, that work for the senators and congressmen and women. And, you know, these are aides that are in their early 20s that still have massive education debt and don't own a home. So they don't. That's why we throw that out there and go, subject matter expert, please call me next time. So. Yeah.
Good point. Well, okay, I will go right into Michael and Kenton right now. So thank you, Warren. That was great info. You guys, that was an excellent conversation. You know, a lot to learn. If this just gives you a little bit of what's available out there with these lots and what can be done to them. So we have to know it, not be the expert, put our team together. Remember that. Lots of changes coming down the pipeline. Okay. Kenton, Michael.
Okay. All right, so I wanted to kind of piggyback off of what Tom was saying about interest rates and pricing and some of the predictions of what's going to happen this year. I always kind of laugh at some of those charts and I get what Tom's doing, and I think that's great, using something that's consistent, because while it doesn't necessarily tell you what that client's rate's going to be, it is going to show you trends, and that's important. But sometimes I laugh because I see some of those interest rates, 6.99, 7.02. And a lot of the rates that we're providing our clients right now are actually lower than that and more competitive than that. I know Gina, one of the things that she always tells her clients is, hey, contact Kenton because he'll beat, and then fill in the name of the bank. And, recently we've actually beat a lot of the local banks out there. BECU, we beat most of the time we beat Bank of America. I recently beat out Chase on better pricing as well. And then even some of the mortgage lenders like Movement Mortgage, we've beat recently. Guild, I've beat recently on pricing. So I say this almost every single month, if you have a client that's already pre-approved and they're shopping for a home, it is a good idea to actually get a second opinion to see if the rate could be better and that could increase their buying power. Keep in mind, if you lower their rate 1/8% or 1/4%, that could increase their buying power another $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. So that helps you as an agent to open up maybe a few more opportunities. And on top of that, it's the summer months, or we're getting into the summer months. And so we're actually running some pricing specials. So June, and it's going to probably carry on through the summer, even July and August. We're going to be running some different pricing specials where we provide some different incentives of 1% extra that they can use towards closing costs or buying down their rate. So there's going to be some really good incentives for your buyers to get that second opinion if they already are approved with someone else. Now, as we've said, we don't need to go in and pull their credit or have them do an application or anything crazy. If they have a quote from another lender, just say, hey, are you okay if I share this with my in-house lender? Just share that estimate with us. We can take a look at their numbers. And as long as I know what their credit score is, so just tell me what their score is or what score the other lender pulled, I can run some numbers to see if we can be more competitive. And you guys know me, I'll be honest, if I can't beat it or they're getting some amazing deal from an internet lender or some lender halfway across the country, I'll let you know that they're getting an amazing deal, and I'll be honest with you. But if we can save them money or increase their buying power, I'll let you know, and then it's up to the client to make that decision if they want to save a little money or increase what they can go out there and look for. So keep in mind, we have pretty competitive pricing to be able to beat some of the companies that are out there, and we're going to be running some incentives throughout the summer. So give us a shot. We'd love to help your buyers.
Great. Thank you. We're excited about summer specials, right?
Mhm.
All right, any other questions? We're right at an hour and a half almost, so thank you. I really, really, really appreciate everybody's time. I think it was a great conversation today, and I know you're all busy, so go sell. Okay. Anything else, people? Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. So this is save this recording, Nikki?